I got to ask you about men. First of all, do you see Trump as a real man?
Yes, in many ways. I mean, I don't, I obviously don't like the 3 marriages, but he's Trump. Okay, it's one off. Divorced Republican men don't think this is a pass going forward. Right. No, we're making a special exception for him. But no, I love that he's such an alpha male.
Yes.
And I mean, even when he was cranky, and I love that he was politically incorrect. It was like a retro 1950s man, and nobody would really say that, but I think that's really appealing to people.
When he had first announced that he was running, and he said, I'm going to build a big, beautiful wall around the borders. I'm going to deport illegals. I'm going to deal with ISIS, wipe them out, cut back on taxes, get rid of regulation and restrictions. I said then, that very same day, Donald Trump will be our next president, because we haven't seen a man in this way in a long time, in the last 50 to 60 years. And he is an example of what men were when I was growing up.
Yes.
And we don't have that for the most part anymore.
Yes.
So
it was the Mexican rapist line that got me. That won my heart. But I mean, similar to you, what I was waiting for, it wasn't the first day. I had to wait to see, is he going to back down? Because we've been betrayed so many times. Why? Because you're right. I mean, I don't want to sit back and be bitchy about men, but they have been beaten down, and gosh, a lot of men have become sissies.
Yes. And it's amazing.
Yeah, it's not good.
I keep asking me, how do men sell out manhood?
Yeah.
I can't see myself selling out manhood. I don't care what anyone says. And I don't know how they give in like that.
It starts from a very, very young age with the gender-neutral toys. And here, would you like to wear a dress, Johnny? And anything Johnny does, like draw a picture of a gun, and he's expelled. I mean, it is just the sissification of the American man.
What's missing in society, I believe in the order of God. And that order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, woman over children. It's a spiritual order.
Yes.
And I saw that working in the black community when I was growing up.
Yes.
And then the government came under Lyndon B. Johnson and the civil rights leaders, and they said, okay, we're going to take care of blacks. You can't make it because of racism, but you're going to have to take the fathers out.
Yes.
And so they removed the fathers, and the government became the daddy, and the race hustlers became the leader. And so I have not, since that time, the ideal of masculinity and manhood and stuff disappeared in the black community. And now I see it disappearing in the white community and other communities too, because men have lost that idea of being a man.
Yes.
And a man is a man who loves what's right with all his heart, soul, and might. Because when he does, if he wants a family, he starts a family, that love is going to be passed down from God through Christ to him, to his wife. And I just don't see that happening anymore. And you're right, it is, they're being destroyed in the educational system. They're being destroyed by being raised by single mothers now.
Yes. Because
they're not getting that identity from their fathers. And boys and girls need that.
I also think that's part of the reason from what I hear in places like Sweden, these barbaric, probably terrorist refugees are really popular with the hot Swedish gals. And I heard about this and I thought, so Swedish men have been so pussified that, okay, yeah, he might cut my head off, but at least it's a man. Right. I'll take the Muslim terrorists.
Oh, God. My father and mother were not married. So my mother married my stepfather before I was born, because it was an embarrassment to have children out of wedlock.
What a wonderful world.
Yeah. But inside of my soul, I had a yearning for my father. And when I would ask my mother about him, she, oh, forget about him, he's no good. So I started to resent her for that. And as you know, you become like who you resent. So I took on her attitude, her personality, and I became a fear and doubt and worry and all that stuff. Not from so-called racism, but for yearning for my father and not forgiving my mother for the way she felt about it. When I was 38 years old, I finally asked God to let me see why was I insecure and doubtful and had fear and all that stuff. he caused me to realize that it was because I resented my parents.
Yes.
I yearned for my father and resented my mother, and that kept me away from his love, you know, from entering into the kingdom. And so I went and forgave them, and when I forgave them, God forgave me, and he gave me perfect peace. He made me whole. And I've gone through more, as you know, I've gone through more hell in those days, but I see now that my battle is a spiritual battle and not a physical one. So when I'm attacked, it doesn't bother me on the inside at all.
Yeah.
I'm not moved by it. I understand they can't help it. I stand up and I deal with it.
I kind of enjoy it.
But I have, yeah, it's fun. I try to tell people that. When you are made whole, it's fun dealing with evil. It's fun dealing with people who hate you because personally, you're not moved by it at all.
Right.
I don't know any other woman like you that have that peace like that.
It's not hard to get.
I know.
I mean, as I wrote, I titled one of my columns Back a Ways because someone on TV was making fun of Christianity, saying something like, oh yeah, well, it's a good deal if you can get it. and I think I titled it, yeah, the best deal in the world. It's really easy.
I now understand how you can deal with it. You're not bothered by it. It's not personal to you. It'll work itself out. It's not a big deal. And that's what Christianity is all about. Not to be angry, not to be worried. Know that it's a spiritual battle and deal with it.
Yes, and Christians ought to be the most fearless people in the world.
That's
Everything
right.
you do, you're operating with a net. It does make me, wonder about the seriousness of a lot of politicians'
Yes.
alleged Christianity.
Yes.
They know they have to be Christians to get the votes, but wow, one little yelp from the Washington Post or the New York Times, and you are off on the other team.
Yeah. You know, one Sunday I was giving a talk, and I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. I was giving a talk about what went wrong in this country. And I said that when women got the right to vote.
Yes!
When they got the right to vote, they started voting in all these bad laws that go against family, that goes against the unborn child, that goes against everything. And I was attacked like 90 going north. But I think you said it first because after I was attacked, someone started telling me, so I looked it up. You said the same thing about when women got
repeatedly.
Yeah.
On Politically Incorrect on ABC. And by the way, there were some gals up in the audience. If any of you remember ABC, it was the second highest rated late night TV show. There were some supporters for my position.
Yes. Yes.
No, it's exactly for what you were just, in fact, I was just going to mention it. What you were saying about how African Americans started voting Democrat because the government took the men away,
Yes.
so the government becomes dad.
Daddy. That's
well,
right.
it's the same thing with women.
Yeah.
Women aren't such bad voters. Single women are bad voters.
Yes.
And especially single mother women are bad voters because they don't feel like they have a man they can rely on. So, if it makes the feminists happy, okay, I'll blame the men for not being reliable husbands and providers. But that is what you need.
Yeah.
When you can't rely on men, you look to the government to be your husband. And it's not,
That is
but
so
it's
true.
exactly what you're saying. What they want is the welfare, the benefits, the child care and family leave acts, all this stuff for the kids, or for raising kids and having the government be their husband. But what it ends up doing, it gets to be this inevitable vicious cycle where men become irrelevant.
That's right.
And that's what liberals want, because if there's no family, they can totally rule over us.
That's right. And it's so true because right now there's a warfare between black men and black women because that respect is not there anymore.
Yes.
The government is daddy. These women don't respect the black men anymore, and it's a mess.
Yes.
Whereas before, the respect was there. You didn't always agree,
right.
but the respect was there, and it's no longer there now.
Right, and you combine, if we could get rid of welfare, build the wall, which, by the way, will create a lot of jobs.
Yes.
And those are good jobs.
That's right.
And I love Trump's plan on infrastructure. Nobody's pointed this out, but one big thing over the last year was ban the box, ban the box. Well, the boxes you have to check off if you've been convicted of a felony. And they say, this discriminates against African Americans, many of whom are involved, as Obama said, in the, justice system involved? Was that the expression? Anyway.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, for some jobs, it makes a difference if you're a convicted felon.
That's
You
right.
can't be
I'm
driving
telling
a
you.
Brinks truck.
That's
But you know
right.
where it doesn't make a difference? On a construction site. If you only want the people who are loyal to you, well, your only White House advisor should be Ann Coulter and Corey Lewandowski.
That's right.
And
That's
Jesse
for
Lee
sure.
Peterson.